Hi there. It's Tuesday night. I'm doing a little impromptu midweek video lesson on question number 8 that you're submitting back to me this week. So the last 2 days I've been sitting here reading them all and putting little comments, trying to guide you through that. And we're about maybe 50-60% are getting it okay, but there are some pretty common misconceptions in this problem right here. Y equals negative 1/4 x squared plus 3x plus 1. So what we're trying to do is find whether it has a minimum or maximum value. To do that, we need to find the axis of symmetry. Now, this has a couple of problems, and that's why I want you to try this one. It's got a negative number, it's got a fraction, but you can deal with those. But first things first, what are we trying to find? We're trying to find the maximum or minimum value. So before we even start, can you tell by looking at this, maximum or minimum? You should be looking at the A. The A is negative, which means this graph, if we were to graph it, we don't have to graph it, but if we did, it would be opening downward like that. Which means the vertex, wherever the vertex is going to be at the very top right there. And that's the maximum value. And that's what we want to find. So to find that, we go back to what we did this lesson, and that is finding the vertex. You got to find the axis of symmetry, which is negative b over 2a. And like I said in the video last week, is it negative b? Is it negative 2a? Is it the whole thing? And I like to think of it this way, as negative in the front and this whole thing. So on your answers, a lot of people, I kind of threw a snarky announcement out to you today. A lot of weird decimals showing up when you started calculating this. That means you are reaching for your calculator. Put them down. You know what I told you beginning of the year, when I see decimals on somewhat simple fraction problems, it's a cry for help. Okay, so I'm going to help you right now. Do it by hand. You got to do this by pencil and paper. So, negative b over 2a. Identify the b, identify the a. The b is the 3, the a is negative 1/4. So, okay, so now we're at negative b over 2a. So let's identify the negative numbers, because this negative number is an issue. B is 3. Write it out. Don't do this in your head. B is 3. A is negative 1/4. Now don't forget that this whole thing is negative, so I'm putting another negative out here. I put this big thing in parentheses. There's another negative out here. It's negative 1/4 times 2. 2a times 2. I did put those around a little bit. I just like to do that. Can you read that okay? Maybe. So 3, how do we do this? This is where some of you, I think, got a hard time. First of all, the calculators. Don't do the calculators. I know you want to, but that's going to cause nothing but decimal issues all over the place, because all calculators treat numbers differently sometimes. 1/4 times 2. If you do this in your head, sometimes there's two things that happen. Your mind wants to do things easy. 1/4 times 2, a lot of times I automatically think that is 1/8. And no, it's not. That's one, because if you made 1/4 plus 1/4, it's 2/4. It's not 1/8. That's but your mind wants to do that. Also, since we've been squaring stuff all the time, I saw some people had 1/16ths as part of their axis of symmetry, because it's 4 times 4 is 16. But no, 1/4 times 2, or 1/4 plus 1/4, is 1/2. 1/4 plus 1/4 is 2/4, and that's 1/2. Now don't forget that is a negative here and a negative there, which will make it positive. So this becomes, now here's another problem. I'm just going to keep writing it out. 3 over negative is a positive. Oh no, 1/2. What do I do now? 3 over 1/2 is a fraction divided by a fraction. I can't do that. Forget the rules. Invert. No, don't forget them. They're good rules. Invert, multiply by the reciprocal. Those are all good. when I view this, to make sure I'm right, I just revert back to what it really means. Dividing, all dividing, is how many groups are in a bigger group. In this case, how many 1/2s? How many 1/2s are in 3? That's what division is how many part in a whole. How many of this part is in the whole thing? How many 1/2s are in 3? You think of it that way, and it comes out pretty easy. It's going to be 6. There are 6 1/2s in 3. So I don't, you could do write it out, multiply by the reciprocal. You will get the same thing for all division that works, but that's how I like to think about it. How many 1/2s are in 3? So my axis of symmetry is 6. So now I'm going to erase all this. The axis of symmetry is 6. I'm pretty confident on that. So I'm going to erase all this mumbo jumbo I have here. I know my axis of symmetry. It's 6. I got it. So if I had a graph, and I know what x equals the 6, make a little dotted line here. That's x equals 6. Somewhere this graph would be here. Now I know again, it opens downward, downward, downward. So it's going to be something like somewhere around, there's my graph. So we've got the axis of symmetry. And now we got to find the vertex, because we want to find, is it a maximum or a minimum? And that's the maximum value. That's what we want. This is your x value. Well, how do we figure out the y value? We have an equation. We now know the x. We'll take this x and plug it in here. That's all you need to do. So we've got negative 1/4 times 6. Negative 1/4 times 6. That's not right. Oh, 6 squared, excuse me. It's 6 squared. I'm going to erase this. I'll make it negative 4 times, what's 6 times negative, or 6 times 6 is 36. Plus 3 times 6. What's 3 times 6? Quick, quick, quick. Yeah, back there. 18. Good. 18. Plus 1. Be careful here. You can do this. Negative 1/4 times 36. What's 1/4 of 36? 36 divided by 4, 9. Negative number, negative 9. Plus 18. That gives us 9. Is that right? Yeah, that's 9. Plus 1 more, and that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, gives you 10. That is the y value. That's the y value, because what we just did, we found the x, we plugged it in, we got the y. So the ordered pair of the vertex, x is 6, y is 10. See that 1/4? It's okay. It's gone. We got rid of the fraction. That's the vertex. And the goal is, what is the maximum problem? The maximum, the top part there is, that's 6. The axis of symmetry. We go up to here to go 10. So that is your highest value. The maximum is 10. Okay. So there you go. I thought I'd just throw that in there for you so we can get that all cleared up before we move on. So anyway, good job so far this week. And that's it. Where's my off button? There we go. Okay, talk to you later.